Something that is relatively recent, I think, is the assessment or the measurement of design work in companies. How have you learned in these 8 years, especially at Mitre 10, how design work is evaluated?
Yeah, and look, it's a really interesting one. And I guess it depends where it's being driven from and what's actually driving it. So I'll come across projects within our business that they might have come about through potential need for range changes or a need going, we're actually got a whole part of the market which is missing when we talk purely about product specific things. And so in that instance, you'll be driven quite heavily from a category management perspective. There'll be things that they're wanting to achieve. And for us, we kind of come in and say, right, what do we want to do? What part of the market do we need to own? What is this product going to do for our customers? And we'll just kind of start to work through going, when a customer comes in to buy that product in our business, what were the decisions that they need to make? Um, what are the consideration subsets? What would they be making? And we'd kind of then figure out going, right, if they would make these series of decisions, we would then look at going, right, how would we start to display that? And ultimately for us, when we talk about pure range reviews and things like that, or how new product comes into our business, we would basically in those instances look at pure sales uplift and what does that do. We've also kind of got on the other side when we look at the overarching experience and what that is. And so I'm probably pretty privileged in where I sit in the business and that I see a really wide range of things. And one of the projects which I'm leading with our executive and also too with our board is actually what does the next evolution of our store look like? So this is an evolutionary process. It's never going to be a one and done. And it's definitely for us, it's about a process of evolution, not revolution. So we know that through a series of steps, we should always be aiming for continuous improvement. And in those instances where the remit is so wide, and we're talking about things which potentially might be slightly intangible, we'll approach the KPIs and things slightly differently. So for us, what we'll kind of look at is a three-pronged approach. We'll look very much from a customer lens. So we'll have KPIs that are set around customer. So they might be net promoter scores. They might be about customer feedback. What does that look like for us as a business? We'll have pure operational focus things. So have we increased the cost of labor? How efficient have we made processes for our team in store? Because that's really important for us, is that we can be super focused on our customer, but we might monumentally mess up the operational process in the back. So it's us finding a balance of us making sure we're balancing out the decisions that we're making. And ultimately as well, there's always a viability or a financial aspect that we have to look at this. So what are we looking at from a return on investment perspective? Not only if I'm just implementing a new fixture, a new digital system or something like that. So what's my pure return on investment, or what's my payback period for that? But also too, when you start to look at, ultimately we're in a retail game. So how much is that space earning me in terms of my square meterage on my floor? So what am I returning on a square meter basis, on a bay basis, or things like that? So for us, it's not a linear process, and there's different levers that we will pull to look at what are our main KPIs, and depending on the project, they will change. But typically for us, we'll always look at things through those three lenses of the desirability being customers, the feasibility being more operational focused things, and obviously then going into the viability, which is very financially focused.
This almost sounds like a poetic KPI. Like, how do you turn negative emotions of your customers into positive emotions, right? Like that's
Yeah,
such a design problem. It touches on everything else in the organization, but it's
yeah.
a fundamentally design problem.
It's even one of those things when we started looking at this holistically on all touch points, right? And you kind of go, oh God, I've got a broken product, or it's not quite right, and I've got to return it. And you know personally your own dread of taking back a product to a store, and you go, oh God, can't find the receipt, or I'm going to have a fight
Yes.
with them with them, something like that. And
Yes.
actually, just by changing a mind shift change, going, actually, let's celebrate returns. Returns are okay. You might not have
Right.
made the right decision. So just a mind shift change, and actually how
Right.
we approach it and how we message it in store takes away that initial angst at a customer level. So at
Of
every touch
course.
point,
Yeah.
how can we look to change the dial? And for us, it's literally the one thing from an operational perspective. The one thing we have to change is potentially some training of our team of different ways that they might talk or yeah, talk about our customers to our customers on that return journey. But what that then has done in turn is left our customers with a really great experience of what they thought would be quite dreadful.
Yeah.
Um, and that, again, they go, that was so easy at Mitre 10. And that, again, you'd
Hmm.
stay high in the consideration subset and stuff like that, that your customers will continue to come back. So it's again for us going that reframing, that rethinking every
Yeah.
single touch point, no matter what it is, an operational process, a physical thing that exists in our store, we can take the same approach and go, how could we look at this differently? Because our pain points ultimately across a whole entire business, regardless of what type of business you are your opportunity.
Your motivation is not really to sell more products. Your motivation is improving the life of people, right? At the end of the day, that's what keeps us, doing what we do every day. Practicing our magic is to make things, easier to understand, easier to decide, reduce errors, et cetera, et cetera. But it needs to be totally aligned and needs to be a means towards an end, right? If those contradict, if improving the life of people is not geared towards having them choose a product over others, then you're acting against the strategy of the organization. This is why we have sometimes trouble working with organizations that have a more blurry goal, right? We try to convince ourselves that our role in that organization is about improving the life of people. But any organization in any sector could be seen from a positive lens or a negative lens, right? I mean, retail or beverage or social media can be seen from both sides, right? Sometimes we fall, to the trap of media, right? That portrays one industry as being totally evil, right? Pharmaceuticals suffer a lot from this. But you need to convince yourself that having a role in that organization is going to eventually improve the life of people. I mean, I still don't see many sectors as beneficial, like weapons or tobacco, but many others do have a primordial aspect of improving people's lives.
What does success look like in that elevating of design in different companies? What are the patterns that you see?
Success is different in my clients than it is in Accenture, and I'm going to talk about both of them. In our clients or in any organization, I think one way to measure design success is as a very simple metric. How many designers they've hired, or how many designers they have. Not probably not in the single organization. Sometimes it's an isolated organization, the design organization, and sometimes it's spread in many different organizations. Some technology companies have designers in all product teams. That's totally feasible. And other organizations have a team of 200 designers, and they become the design or innovation organization. But number of designers, and then how happy they are in terms of how respected those people are within the whole organization. So you may say, well, attrition may be one of the metrics of design impact in an organization. If you have a large team of designers and the attrition of that team is low, then it means that they're happy, they're satisfied, and they are not looking for jobs elsewhere, and they are challenged, and they're doing their magic and it's having an impact, right? The moment when you don't have an impact, when you don't feel respected or heard, or you see that you're working on things that never make it to market, that is very demotivating, and then you switch jobs.
Not everything valuable is measurable, and not everything is measurable is valuable, something like that, no? So, and that's the difference. At the end, I know that there are some things around the design process that are untouchable, or like emotions, no? And actually I have like a perception about comfort, not the numbers, but touch, feel. So I think it's important, like, to have this vision, to not lose some key parts of the design process, no? Because as probably, and I know some engineers with a very open, spectrum of thinking, and probably they like develop this way of thinking, but at the end, the designer, a design manager should have these values like in his fingers or her fingers. So it's, and I think it's a key part in the design process. And not only that, also the playful, or to be playful, no, also the joy of the design process, the way we start creating, no, and the creating process. I think it's also different from the engineering. They have Six Sigma, green belt, black belt, diamond belt, double diamond belt, anything, and we have, each member inside the team has like their own process, because each school has a different process, even if there are some coincidences, no, but they are individuals, and I think that's it's priceless, no, at least for me.